this episode of the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. I'm your host, founder and executive director of Voices for Voices, Justin Allen Hayes. So this is going to be one of the first. So usually uh, we film episodes later in the day. And so this is a morning episode. And it can only be described, I think, by uh, how we feel, and I felt like it would be a good time to do an episode. I've had some good thoughts, some bad thoughts. You're kind of racing through my mind, as we all do from time to time. Uh, so that's what brings us here today. Uh, believe, belief. Whether we're talking about, uh, you know, our let's say our religious beliefs, if we have them. I do. Uh, do have that belief. Uh, on the Catholic side of things. Again, everybody has their opinions. We're trying hard not to judge, and so we don't really, as an organization, care where you're coming from. If you're non-religious, religious, Catholic, Protestant, uh, Muslim, it doesn't matter to us. What matters to us is that we're coming together the best that we can, the best that we know how, and that we have belief and we believe in ourselves. Now, that can be from a simplified standpoint, like, oh, yeah, I believe in myself. I believe in what I like to do. We talk about professions. If I have an electrician background, an experience, and I don't believe in myself and believe in the work that I'm doing, that's going to come across to customers at some point. Now, there's always going to be customers and people that are, they're the haters. They don't want to see anybody succeed. They want to drag people down. Uh, they they don't want to see success happen for anybody. Uh, and when it does happen, then the negative thoughts, the negative stereotypes, just the negativity, the toxicity. Uh, we don't have to all love like our individual actions, but from a human species, we should have love for all individuals. Again, we can't make decisions for others, and we're not trying to push our decisions on others. We're just coming to you in a raw form of a very popular Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. We just received notification that one of the software packages that I purchased just over a month ago, and I was really hesitant to do that because there's a lot of great people, a lot of great organizations, a lot of great software out there to help try to navigate a little bit better through optimizing titles, descriptions, keywords, and you heard me on an earlier episode talk about that. And so I got that notification that just in the month or so that we've had this, that we received 30,000 views on YouTube, alone. And YouTube is only one of the 16 plus platforms that this show is on, in the video form and the audio form. And so that really blew me away, because as some of the earlier episodes came across, as this episode is, very raw, people going through crises, going through disagreements, arguments, being unsure about ourselves, and I'm living proof of someone that has lower self-esteem, lower confidence on more days than I would like. And so that's where the belief and believing come in, bringing it back to the topic of discussion for this episode. And believing and belief, it can come in many different forms. I mentioned confidence, success. Having success is definitely something that helps when we look at believing in what we're doing and how we're doing it. Give an example. So my undergrad at Youngstown State University started out terrible, skipping classes, skipping exams, having to retake an econ economics class for the very reasons of missing class and getting, I think it was like a D, and that was unacceptable on all levels. So I had to retake that. So that cost extra money, just a fact of the matter. And through the roller coaster of college, university, or even just high school, and not even that, just life. We have ups and downs. We have things that go our way and things that don't. So if we're driving and we're hitting all green lights when we're on our way to our destination, then that's an example of, hey, today's going to be a good day. Vice versa, we all run into what seems to be all red lights, could have the other side of things. Oh, no, this is just another thing that is going wrong, going against me, going against us. And I've spoken at length about an organization like ours, Voices for Voices, or us as a human being, Justin Allen Hayes. As we progress in life, we talk about high school, middle school, we develop friendships with a lot of people, or like me, not a lot of people, that friends, and that I wasn't in a popular group and whatnot, and we've covered that. So that's water under the bridge at this point. But that affects our confidence and what we're doing. So fast forward to my education at Youngstown State, which started out awful, as I mentioned, but it ended great. I was not only attending all my classes, I was actually studying, I was preparing, I was leading presentations, I was leading group projects, I was running point on those. And I don't know what came over me, but there was a switch. I'll say a switch because that just sounds like transactional. But there were just a series of events that occurred of, what am I going to do? Am I going to be in college the rest of my life? I'm not going to have any financial support. And the list goes on and on. But when I finished strong, that gave me the confidence of, all right, Justin, I can believe in you, going on in my head. I can believe in what we're doing, I'm doing, however we want to refer to that. And so when that was happening, I had a high positive belief of what I was doing heading into employment to the workforce. I was recognizing at those later stages of my education at Youngstown State, and then even my master's at Walsh University, I was trying to think the best way to share this, because it's hard. It's hard to share intimate personal details with 52 countries, 560 cities across the world. Uh, those 30,000 views on YouTube, and uh, even more on all the other platforms. On We combine those together. There's a sense of feeling alone. Well, we know we're individuals. We're all made different. We all have different traits, characteristics that we're good at. Others may be good at as well, or maybe they're not, and that doesn't matter. But when we talk about feeling alone, when we're leading a project, when we are taking the time for our mental health, our health in general, our profession, it's really, and I've felt it at various times, and no more than where I'm at right now, of feeling alone. And there's a Third Eye Blind song. It's off their first album. It might be Motorcycle Drive By. And what that really talks about is, at least the part I want to share, is I've never felt so alone, and I've never felt so alive. And that line, or those two lines of that song that I just shared, that is so true, because the song also goes on to talk about, as you're building something, and that there's others that don't want to see it happen. And this isn't Third Eye Blind's my favorite band of all time. But this isn't a plug for any stretch. I love the band, love the band members, Stephen Jenkins, Brad Hargraves, etc. But there's people that they don't want to see it happen. They don't want to see your success, my success, organizations, affiliations that we have. As we come back to the beginning of this episode, we're talking about believing and beliefs. And if there's a lot of haters, as I mentioned, just as a term, the haters are the people that don't want to see it happen. They don't want to see your success. They don't want to see my success. They don't want to see the success of Voices for Voices. They don't want to see Voices for Voices helping 3 billion people. They want to see, as a lot of times our media portrays, these shock value statements, or coming out against a particular topic, a particular experience. And there are, call them sheep and wolves, a wolf in sheep's clothing. There's people that want to stay close. They want to find out what you're doing, how you're doing it. They want to get those, what we'll call trade secrets and intellectual property. And all that really means is all the work, all the training, all the apprenticeships, the internships, all that experience that nobody was there to see that happen. They thought like this show that it's magic where I sit down or stand at the studio, that things are magic where we film it and then boom, it goes out. That's part of it. But to reach and to touch as many lives as possible for that one individual, and that one individual might be you, because that was me, and it still is me, because I'm still learning. And I'm still struggling with the belief and believing in myself and the organization, because it feels from many different directions that people and organizations, they don't want to see it happen. They don't want to see the success. They want to focus time and energy on other people, other organizations. And I know there's a lot of great people and great organizations out there. But to me, the people and the organizations, the people that are donating to other organizations very similar to Voices for Voices, but they won't donate $1 to Voices for Voices. It feels like high school. It feels like school. It feels like a clique. Feels like a group. Feels like groups. Those could be no response from emails reaching out. This could be no response from attending an event and sharing a QR code or a brochure about our organization. That those things never really escalate to the point of, yeah, we want to support Voices for Voices. We are non-traditional. We don't have the connections that others have. We can reach out, but we just don't have that, at least at this point. And so, talking a little bit more in the middle part of the show today, of feeling alone, that there's others, there's people that don't want to see the success, don't want to see the people shift from one organization to another. There's people that want to, again, take your ideas, your experiences, my ideas, my experiences, my board's experiences, and they just want to pop in here and there, and then they want to take notes on what's going on, how you're doing it, what software you're using, how you're finding your guests, who future guests are. There's a lot of that where the Voices for Voices walk is going to be this May or June, where people want to take advantage of situations and just pop in for that, for that photo op or that photo bomb, where this scene is happening and then somebody just pops in at the last minute to take all the ideas that have been happening. And so part of me feeling alone, is put on by myself. Because just as I was finishing out at a high point in my undergrad at Youngstown State, and I told the story before, tell it again. There was a summer class I was taking. There was an exam that was coming up. I studied. The day of the exam came, and a student raised their hand and asked if we could have an oral exam, meaning the professor would read through all the questions, but then they would select students to respond. And based on their response, the whole class would get the same grade. So question one, student got wrong. That's one question that everybody in the class is going to get wrong. And so that gets deducted from the score. And so at that time, I wasn't going to see it happen that way. So we had a little, little survey of who wanted to take the test as planned, pen, paper, pencil, paper, and who wanted to do the oral exam. So we all put our heads down. Professor asked which way, and I raised my hand because I wanted to take the exam the old-fashioned way because I had studied and I didn't want to be taken advantage of because I was doing very well. I was answering a lot of questions. Again, I was doing very well. And so after everybody voted, our heads came up, we opened our eyes, and a professor said, okay, if you raised your hand to take the exam, the old-fashioned way, pen and paper, pencil, paper, go ahead next door. There were about 20 students in class, and I was the only one that walked over next door because I wanted to take the exam as planned, as I had studied my butt off, and I didn't want to see others ride my coattails. So I was sitting there next door, and then a minute or two went by, and one or two students came in. And then another couple students came in. And then finally, professor said, okay, everybody come back to class. We're going to take it the old-fashioned way. So we're going to take it as planned. We're not going to do the oral exam. And I felt a sense of accomplishment, of standing up for myself, that I don't know up until then if I had done that before without substances. I mean, I was sober, and I was believing in my abilities at that point. And I was able to impact that process by wanting to take that exam, whether it was next door or in the class with everybody. And I was not going to be the one that was going to answer all the questions on the oral exam and have the person or persons, other students, basically get the score that I got. And I have that exam somewhere because it meant so much to me and my growth as a person, an individual that was buried for such a long time because of my alcohol addiction, this utter lack of not caring about a whole lot of things. And it wasn't healthy at all. So that was the first time that I can remember that I believed in myself and had belief. Again, substance-free, sober. But I felt alone because I was the only person that went next door. I believed in myself that much that I was willing to take an exam the old-fashioned way and have the other 19 or so students take the exam. They want to do an oral exam, that's great. Well, they can do that. I'm gonna I'm going to be responsible for what I did, what I done. And I had studied again so much. And I was taking so much confidence away from that situation that I was, after that, leading projects, being a point person, because I wanted to have in my portfolio for interviews work that I had done, and I knew that I had led those teams and those groups, which can be a hard thing to do, because group work, as we know, some people in the group do the work, some people don't. And then there's that, age-old question, well, what do you do when the day the paper or the presentation's due, and that student or person comes in and, again, trying to steal all that hard work that I did, that my team that actually did the work. Or there were times where I was the only one on the team. There was a team of 5, so I had 4 students that didn't do a darn thing on a project. And I ended up telling the teacher, and I don't like being a tattletale and that. However, I had that belief in myself that I wasn't going to be taken advantage of if it was up to me, if that was possible. Again, sometimes that is possible, sometimes it's not. But when, in those 2 instances, that I stood up for myself, that I believed in myself, it felt really good inside. But I felt alone. And the other people in my group, the other people in my class that wanted to ride my coattails, those were the individuals that they didn't want to study, but they wanted to get all the credit from the person that did study, or the person that took the initiative and got that project kicked off and said, okay, well, nobody responded to my messages, so I'm getting started. And so it was alone, because I was the only one in those instances that was doing the work. And here at Voices for Voices, we have a quite interesting board of directors. We all have our busy schedules, and I'm probably not the best at doing the managing part, but that's just me. I've gotten messages where people want to help me so I don't say as much or like a lot as much. I've also gotten feedback that because for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the medications that I'm on or what, but when I'm thinking, sometimes my eyes, it looks like my eyes are, they're darting up, they're down, they're side. And I got a message, it was very hurtful, on TikTok, that said that, I was feeling that stroke you were going through. And that was very hurtful. And I know that no matter how successful anybody is, there's going to be haters, there's going to be people against what we're doing and against me as an individual, because they don't want to see it happen, they don't want to see that success. But they'll come in and steal guest ideas, organization ideas, and so the people that don't want to see it happen. And although, and I'm working through this as a human, that at this point in life, as you're watching, listening to this episode, I've never felt so alone. And that's hard to talk about. I'm talking Voices for Voices predominantly here. But whether it's the hair, whether it's playing some songs and butchering them and not singing, and I'm not a great guitar player or singer, but I just like to do that. It's comforting. Um, so I've never felt so alone at this point, but I've also never felt so alive. People don't want to see success happen, but success is happening for Voices for Voices. Thank you for your support. Please give us big thumbs up, like, share, follow, comment. If you're able to donate, we really appreciate that. voicesforvoices.org, O-R-G. Until next time, I'm Justin Allen Hayes, founder and executive director of Voices for Voices. Be a voice for you or somebody in need.